in fact, like right after completing my masters in Gujarat University, and after a few months of that, I got an opportunity from Gujarat Forensic Sciences University. Anybody who has that kida in them, they can do the digital forensic. The entire coding part, like to know multiple languages. The only thing I would still expect from a student is that they should have interest. Because to be honest, I have found a lot of time that only reason people switch from their basic forensic science to digital forensics is because they felt that there is a higher job opportunity in this. Cybersecurity is something that is need for any industry, anywhere from 6 lakh to 15 lakh on average, anywhere between that per annum. And when it comes to internship, the stipend would range anywhere from 25 again and again, is because it's a really core thing when it comes to understanding anything in digital forensics.
Hello and welcome back to the Forensic Podcast episode 9. And this particular podcast we have dedicated to the field of cyber forensic and digital forensic. So for the very same, we have with us Mr. Rehan Patel, who is an assistant professor at National Forensic Science University. And with him, we are going to decode each and every section or each and every part of this field. So first, I would like to welcome you, sir. And it's been an honor for me to have you on our show. And yeah, so before we actually get into this get into the theme of the podcast, I would like to ask you, or I just want to request you to please take us through your journey from being a student to becoming an assistant professor of National Forensic Science University.
After 12th, I always wanted to go into the field of IT. At that time, I wasn't really clear to get into the field of cybersecurity in general, but I did my bachelor's in IT because of that. And while I was doing my bachelor's, I came across the website of Gujarat Forensic Sciences University, and I saw the course of MSc Digital Forensic and Information Security, and it clicked me immediately. Like, but I never came across any person who's done their masters in digital forensics. So I was like, why don't we do that? And that's why then I later on took my admission in the masters in digital forensics at Gujarat Forensic Sciences University. I did my studies there. I was also placed from the campus itself in the one of the company in Mumbai, Ernst & Young. And from there, like I already had this idea in my mind to be the faculty, to be teacher. I wanted to teach people, and because even in my bachelor's time, I used to take sessions after the classes were over for my classmates, and from there I got the idea of getting into this field of becoming faculty. So that was basically what my journey was. And in fact, like right after completing my masters, in few months I got a job in first Gujarat University, and after a few months of that, I got an opportunity from Gujarat Forensic Sciences University, and I joined there right away. And currently, I'm simultaneously pursuing my PhD as well in the field of IoT forensics. So that's how my journey is going right now.
So you're pursuing PhD from the National University itself?
No, I'm pursuing my PhD from GLS. The main reason being, like, I wanted to pursue National Forensic Sciences University. I felt like I should start the PhD straight away because I did not want to waste years. So,
Great, sir. Actually, it's really a pleasure to hear from you, sir. So, okay, so let's get straight into the main theme of the podcast. And I'd like to, at the first place, I would like to ask you, sir, who all can study actually digital forensic apart from the students of computer science and IT department background?
Anybody who's always wanted to do the kind of investigation, like you said, like there is this kida in everyone wants to do investigation. Anybody who has that kida in them, they can do the digital forensics, and it is really an interesting field. When you are doing the investigation, when you get to find the evidences, when you get to link two things together, like okay, this happened, and then after this happened. That pleasure you get out of finding evidences out of this entire anything that you are investigating, it's always fun. And anybody who finds that interesting can pursue digital forensics basically.
Yeah. So, is there any particularity like that you have to have be from IT background or maths background or electronics background in order to pursue this field?
Like, if you are interested enough, I don't believe there should be any limitation in that regards. Also, like all universities have some form of criteria and eligibility criteria, but like until unless you have at least basic knowledge of how network works, how computer works, I feel like you would be good enough in the digital forensics field, because majority of the time you would be dealing with devices who are connected to network. You would be dealing with the operating system. You would be dealing with the hard drives. So in that situation, if you understand how they work, you would be able to survive.
So on that note, I would like to ask you, sir, is it necessary or it's like compulsory to know coding or languages, or is just an add-on advantage to the things that we study?
No. So basically you don't really need to know the entire coding part, like to know
Yeah.
multiple languages in order to survive in the digital forensics field. The only advantage I would say you would be having is at times when you are dealing with a lot of evidences, if you know
Yeah.
how to script, you would be able
Yeah.
to reduce your investigation time by creating script for it. But anyways,
Yeah.
in this time, you would be able to find such scripts easily online. So you don't really
Yeah.
need to know coding. You just need to know how to do the investigation.
Okay. So since we are actually from forensic science background, and we
Hmm.
arc of going, shifting from BSc forensic science to MSc digital forensic, like, is it really difficult to shift, or it's like acceptable in all the colleges? Just being from forensic science background and coming into digital forensic.
No, I had few students in the past who did their bachelor's in forensic science and doing really well right now in master's degree in digital forensics. So it is quite
Mhm.
possible. The only thing I would still expect from a student is that they should have interest. Because to be
Mhm.
honest, I have found a lot of time that only reason people switch from their basic forensic science to digital forensics is because they felt that there is a higher job opportunity in this master's
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they do not have necessarily any interest. They only come because
Mhm.
they find that there would be better placement in this course, and
Mhm.
at that time they make a lot of mistakes because of that. Because
Yeah.
if you are not interested in the field, the study would become even more harder for you.
Yeah, exactly, sir. Completely agree with you. So, sir, my next question to you is, what is the present reality of this field? Like, we do have some kind of pre notions about, like, will be having a great option,
Hmm.
career options in this field. Like, you would be the better
Hmm.
person to get us acquainted with the present reality of this field.
Like, I would say like cybersecurity is something that is need for any industry. It is crucial for
Hmm.
everyone. In
Yeah,
general, like cybersecurity, if we talk about, it is something that everybody needs. It is not
yeah,
like you will find any industry who does not need cybersecurity in any way. So like
yeah.
anybody can be victim in this cyberspace if we talk about it. So if you are
Hmm.
having a field that is necessary for everyone, there is always going to be opportunity here. If
Yeah.
even if you talk about present or if you talk about future, there is always going to be
Hmm.
some form of like job requirement for everyone. Like there were a
Yeah.
lot of reports which stated that by 2021 there would be at least 3.5 million
Hmm.
unvacant job for cybersecurity. So
Hmm.
we can understand how much need do we have. And
Yeah.
that goes the same way if you're talking about protecting somebody from cyber attacks. At the same time, if you fail to protect, there comes the need of digital forensic when you now need to do the investigation of the crime. So both
Hmm.
the field have very much requirement when it comes to the not just the government sector but also the private sectors as well. Because many
Yeah.
people have this mentality, at least in India, that
Yeah.
government job milega ke nahi, and
Hmm.
that is something that I would suggest everyone to not stick with, because there are
Hmm.
a lot of requirements in the corporate environment in the private sectors as
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
for both the
Yeah.
industries,
Yeah.
and that's what my
Yeah.
suggestion would be to a lot of people.
Completely agree, sir. So, sir, do you think that the just MSc Digital Forensic will be enough to work, or do some kind of extra certifications are also required along with the MSc Digital Forensic?
So in it's like if you want to do the certification, there are certifications available for digital forensics.
Like,
But
what do you
if you
suggest
have the
if
digital
anybody
forensics,
wants to?
so there are
What
certificates
type of
from
courses?
autopsy, like crash courses available from autopsy. There are crash courses available from EC Council. There is a
Mm-hmm.
certification from a guidance for the NCAS course. So these are the kind of certificate you can have on top of your degree, but that is
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily going to give you much advantage over someone who has just done MS Digital Forensics, because the
Mm-hmm.
degree in itself is so unique that you don't really
Yeah.
require any additional certificate with it. We are not talking about MSc IT kind of general stream course where you need a specialization certificate to come along with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the course itself would be enough for you to get any admission, get any good job somewhere.
Exactly. So many, I have seen many people tend to do some courses from Udemy and Coursera. Like, are these certificates given provided by
Hmm.
them valid? Like,
No,
I have,
like I have seen many. Yes, like in the National Forensic University, I'm also in the placement team along working along with Digvijay sir. You must have heard of his name.
mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
have seen many resumes where people have mentioned 15 to 20 Udemy and Coursera courses in their
Mm-hmm.
resume,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
and as much as I have interacted with the company's HR and company's technical team, that really does not add up at all. What they care about is what kind of research you have done, what kind of projects you have worked on, rather than
yeah.
what kind
Mm-hmm.
of crash courses you have done from Udemy or Coursera. So if you have really
Mm-hmm.
good projects that you have worked on in this field, it would be have much higher value than
Mm-hmm.
having 10 to 15 certificates from those websites.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the clarification. So, sir, my next question would be about the myths that are prevalent in this field.
Where do you even start when it comes to the myth in the cybersecurity fields? Like anywhere from starting from people thinking antivirus is enough to thinking that their data is not worth anything, so they don't need security.
Yeah.
To many people thinking their organization cybersecurity is perfect. Like the list of myths are endless. Like I have came across many people who say like, hey, I have installed Norton antivirus, let's say, in my computer, so I'm now not going to be affected by any virus in the world. And that is not how exactly things work in the cybersecurity field. And there are many people I have had discussions with who
Yeah.
have said like, my data is not worth anything. I'm an individual who's working 10 to 5 and I store
Hmm.
only the WhatsApp chat in my mobile. So my data is not
Hmm.
worth anything at all. So why would anybody attack me? And
Hmm.
if that was really a case where your data was not worth anything, the social media websites like Facebook would not be available for free of cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is the only thing I would say.
Yeah.
Like,
Completely agree, sir. Yeah.
so
Sir,
that
one
is
more.
a misconception. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Please continue, sir. I'll add up
Yes,
after that.
I was saying like that is the misconception that people needs to go away from. No matter
Hmm.
how normal of an individual you are, your data is always worth to somebody. You need to be aware
Hmm.
of that, because
Exactly.
in the
Exactly.
cyberspace, it is very easy to breach somebody's privacy without even knowing about it. And a lot of
Hmm.
corporates, a lot of companies who provide you with these services do that quite often.
Hmm.
And you just need to keep yourself safe from such kind of things. Yeah.
Exactly, sir. Completely agree, sir. So I just wanted to ask you about so we come across many internship programs or short-term courses being offered by many lab XYZ. I don't want to name any. So do you think that those certificates are also valid? Like because they charge
I
money
would
for
say like,
that.
yeah, they do. So
Yeah.
like, as long as you are getting internship, then yes, the internship would be worth something, because at least you
Hmm.
would be getting hands-on experience into working in these kind
Hmm.
of fields. But apart
Hmm.
from that, there are certain institutes, private institutes, who
Hmm.
provide the crash courses certificate for 6 months or 3 months
Yeah.
for the cybersecurity, and they would be having this huge banner near their
Hmm.
office which says that we would provide you 100% placement. And I
Hmm.
believe that's a kind of fraudulent event that they are carrying out, because that
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
not necessarily add you the amount of money that you are investing in that course.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would not suggest anybody to go for that kind of courses. If it's an
Exactly.
internship program, you can risk it, but
Yeah.
all the reputed institutes never ask for money when it comes to internship. Maybe they would ask you to work for free, but they would not ask you
Hmm.
to pay any money to them. So
Hmm.
that is the kind of
Yeah.
internship I would suggest everyone to go for.
Okay, sir. Sir, do you think this two-factor authentication is safe, or kind of helps to protect your data from the for any kind of malware or
I would
hackers?
say like I would say like, if just having a password is like 4 out of 10 security, two-factor
Hmm.
authentication takes it up to 6 out of 10. It is never going to be 10
Hmm.
out of 10. The reason being, there are
Yeah.
ways of intercepting your SMSs as well that is quite possible
Yeah.
and quite frequently being done by a lot of attackers. So I would say
Hmm.
like, if you are
Hmm.
targeted by an individual who has very technically sound idea about how things work, there is a good chance that
Hmm.
even the OTPs can be taken from your mobile without even you knowing about it.
Yeah.
So yes, so OTP would definitely help you in some manner, but it does not provide you with complete security. And like, as a
Hmm.
matter of fact, when it comes to cyberspace, we have this principle known as principle of insecurity. So that
Yeah.
basically means that no matter how hard you work, no matter what you do,
Hmm.
no matter how much you
Hmm.
invest, you would never have 100% security from anything. So
Hmm.
that is this thing, like, you can
Yeah.
you would need to understand
Yeah.
about it.
So, like, because during this lockdown period, now the cyber crimes has grown up to
Hmm.
200x times. So, what would you suggest to the
Yeah.
people? Like, how should they, keep their devices at a secure place, like as much as they can? What would be your suggestions to them?
Like, I would suggest everyone to at least not download modified application when it comes to Android phones, because I've seen that happens a lot of time with the young kids, that when during the lockdown period, if they are feeling bored and if they want to play games, they would go to Play Store and find a game. But let's say if that game has in-app purchases and they want to purchase something inside the game, what they would do, rather than going for in-app purchase, they would try to find the modded version of that application that comes with unlimited coin, let's say. And that kind of application are not really trustworthy at all. And
Yeah.
I would always ask everyone to avoid this kind of side loading of application unless you are really aware what you are doing with it. Then the next thing is like, now that every shops and all these fast food chain restaurants are opening up, never go out and connect to their free Wi-Fi. That is not really a sensible thing to do unless you are aware what you are dealing with. Don't do that. And I have seen even in the lockdown period that majority of the people tried to do the social engineering attack to gather information from the young kids. And because
Yeah.
like during this entire lockdown phase, a lot of people who were not exposed to the internet were now exposed to it because of the online lectures and because of all this training that was being conducted online. And that created a new window for the attackers to work in. And that is something that everybody needs to be aware of. Like, let's say, like being a parent, your young kid is now taking lectures online for the school, and you are not aware what that kid is doing. You are not paying enough attention to it, and that creates a huge risk for you, because there is a chance that that kid would not be having a dedicated device. He would be using your own device that you have given to him for the particular online session. And during that online session, if something goes wrong, there is always a possibility of something going wrong in that situation. And as a parent, you should be aware of this kind of situation, and you should be aware what your kid is doing while they have their phone. And that is the thing that I would suggest everyone to do. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for the advice, sir. Now let's take a U-turn and talk about the placement scenario in this field, because students are eager to know about this particular thing. Like, what is the actual thing? Like,
Definitely.
what are the average packages look like, and what is the chances of getting placed from National University, Forensic Science University, and all the other universities that provide this particular course?
So the areas in which the individuals can work is endless. Basically, like as I stated earlier, like all the industry require the cybersecurity experts in their organization. So, like if I give you the example of our university, so ranging from a toothpaste company to a bank to a cloud service provider, we have various kind of companies who come for the cybersecurity experts. So that is the range that we are looking at. Like many different industries come for the cybersecurity experts, and they really need it. Like if like you like one of the regular company that comes to our campus is Colgate. Like literally, if you go up to somebody and say that you are working at Colgate, cybersecurity would not be definitely something that would come to their mind first, because they would be thinking, toothpaste in the cybersecurity kidhar se aaya? That is something that everybody would say first of all, because that is something that I have heard from a lot of people. But as a matter of fact, they would require internal security as well, being a multinational company. So ranging from that, we have companies like Amazon, Reliance, who take the cybersecurity experts for their infrastructure. Like Amazon come for internal security, Reliance comes for the geo infrastructure. So people, the various industries have needs. They would be needing the cybersecurity expert maybe for the different reasons, but they need cybersecurity experts, and they do the hiring in these courses. And that is the same case not just in our university, but other universities as well, where we have the cybersecurity courses. So I don't really see other universities as our competitors when it comes to the courses that we provide here. The reason being that ultimately what we are doing is going to help the country get to a better place. And in that situation, we should not have any competition at all. If I talk about my MSc cybersecurity course, if the same course is being provided by some other university, I would be really happy to know what kind of education they have. And if I get to learn from somebody from there, I would be happy to learn from it. Because cybersecurity is a field where you can never sit back, have a cup of coffee, and say that I know everything. It is never
We
possible
keep
in
on
this
learning
field.
every day. Yeah,
So yeah,
exactly.
yes, exactly. And if I talk about the packages, so it range anywhere from 6 lakh to 15 lakh on average, anywhere between that per annum. And when it comes to internship, the stipend would range anywhere from 25,000 to 50,000 rupees per month in the
That's
internship.
great, sir. That's great.
But again, it
Yeah,
all boils down to the individual who's
yeah,
student who are
yeah,
learning
absolutely.
there. So I was saying that
Okay.
I never really promise any student that there would be 100% placement. I always say that we would be giving our 100%. The only factor comes here is that you will need to give your 100% as well.
Exactly.
So that's how generally the situation works. Because our task is to make the student reach till the interview. What happens inside their room is their own responsibility.
Exactly. So I completely believe with this very particular fact that you're saying. Yeah, it also depends on us, like how much competent or how much eager,
Yes,
how do we perform during the interview and the placement time. And so before we
exactly.
wrap up this conversation, I would like to request you to please provide some suggestions for the budding forensic science or the cyber security students who want to pursue their career in this
Sure,
field.
sure, sir. So the only like suggestion I would have is that try to take the baby step, because I have seen a lot of people who are really interested in this field, but they would want to take the big jumps. They would
Yeah.
want to immediately start doing the advanced techniques. They would want to start using the advanced tool from the day one, and they have this eagerness. I really understand that, but it's a huge field and you need to start taking the baby step only. You cannot stand on the ground floor and expect that you would be on the 10th floor in the next moment. So you should, like, if you're interested in the digital forensics field, you don't know where to start from, I would always suggest that you start from understanding network, understanding servers, understanding how the operating system work, how the devices work, and you start from that and eventually learn these advanced fundamentals in the digital forensic and cybersecurity field. Always start from the baby step and then only think about the advanced tools. That is the suggestion I would be having for everyone.
So with continuation to this, I want to ask you one more thing. So what are the books or sites do you want to refer to the students to start with
Yeah,
this
sure.
particular thing?
So, like, for networking, I would highly suggest everyone to refer to the CCNA book. So there is this course, there is this certification provided by Cisco, CCNA, and there is a book for it available. CCNA, that the book name itself is CCNA. So I would highly suggest everyone to go through that book. It would give you a perfect insight about how exactly network works. And the reason why I'm emphasizing about network again and again is because it's a really core thing when it comes to understanding anything in digital forensic as well as cybersecurity. So for that purpose, I would always suggest everyone to at least go through that book once if you are a starter in this field.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time, valuable time, and giving us
No,
such important details about this field. So thank you so much once again, and thank you, sir.
no,
Thanks for coming.
pleasure is all mine. Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.